All right, where do we start? Yeah, my name's Colton. I grew up on the east side of Indianapolis, and I guess that's where this whole story kind of begins, right? I was born into a two-parent household. My mom, a nurse, my dad, super into cars. So where I got this beginning to this journey, I don't know. It kind of came out of nowhere, but yeah, I mean, it was a good upbringing. I love my parents very much. I had two sets of grandparents, so pretty fortunate in that category to kind of grow up in a family that was super like loving and supportive. I mean, we had our challenges like any other family, but it was good. The love was always there, and you know, it was sincere and it was real. Always lived on the east side of Indianapolis my entire life, all the way up until I graduated high school. Elementary school, I was a Brookview Bulldog. In fact, when I was in elementary school, my dream college was to go to Butler, solely because I didn't know anything about college yet. I was in elementary school, people. Remember that, 3rd grade. I wanted to go to Butler. Why? Because their mascot was a bulldog, and that was my elementary school mascot. School never came natural to me, but like I always tried as hard as I possibly could at it, and that was something that I felt like I could always control was my work ethic. Graduated with a 3.67 in college, cum laude honors. In Warren, though, I did remember I had a class of 761 students, and I graduated 27th out of 761 students. So I was pretty thrilled about that, but that just comes back to the work ethic because it never came easy. The earliest memory that I can remember of getting in front of the camera and kind of doing my own thing was all the way back probably in elementary school. If you remember, I went to Brookview, we were the Bulldogs, well, we had the Paw News Network, right? And I was an anchor for that. I did that, my morning school announcements, all the way through elementary, all the way through middle school. And then when I got back to Warren through high school, I started getting more into like the sports scene, right? And I would do the morning announcements still, but I was like the sports anchor instead of like an actual news anchor. And so that's where I kind of started to tailor it maybe more to the sports side of things. But man, going back to it, like I can remember doing my thing in front of a camera probably all the way from the time I was like 6 or 7 on up. Where I think the sports passion and the sports broadcasting probably comes into play is my love of sports, right? I mean, growing up, I played a bunch of different sports, baseball being the main one. But like there comes a time where you realize like, okay, sports are only gonna take me so far. Like I'm not gonna be Mike Trout or Albert Pujols or the next MLB star. So what's the second best thing? Getting paid to talk about sports. So that was my goal, that was my mindset of like, hey, if I'm not gonna be able to play the sport the rest of my life, well then what's the second best thing? And that's talking about the sport and earning a paycheck that way. So that's really where I guess that got started. It was a mixed bag of support. A lot of it was positive and just go for your dreams and do you. And I got that from my family and I got that from my friends. But every once in a while you hear it, and you don't really blame those type of people. It's just they don't really understand what your goals are, and from the outside looking in, it does seem almost more like a dream than a reality, right? When you say, I'm gonna go be on TV and I'm going to talk about sports for a living, like that does sound like a dream. That sounds like, oh yeah, everybody would like to do that. Good luck. So you definitely hear that kind of thing, but you just remember to try to block that noise out, and really only you can control your own journey, and that's what you got to keep telling yourself through that whole process. Most of it was supportive though, so I can't ignore that, like, and that keeps you going. On the days that you don't believe in yourself, there are those days, right? There's days that sometimes you doubt yourself a little bit, and that's when those family and friends are there to pick you up and support you. And through this entire journey, I don't know what I would have done without them. Those positive influences in my life have been just, they've meant the world to me. So despite my elementary school dream of wanting to go to Butler and be a Bulldog solely because of the mascot choice, I did not go to Butler. I went to Ball State, chirp, chirp, go Cardinals. But that was solely because of what I wanted to do, right? I was looking for a place that was not necessarily right in my backyard. I could go out a little bit and kind of spread my own wings, if you will. That's cheesy, but it's true. But also something that really tailor focused in the area of study that I wanted to go into. And when it came to media and video creation and journalism and all those different types of aspects, Ball State was the no-brainer. When I was measuring the colleges and choices of where I wanted to go, that's something I took really into consideration, was like, from the point that I started school there, how quickly was I going to be able to have opportunities to be in front of the camera, to be actually trying? Because there's only, especially in this industry, you know this, like there's only so much that you can learn in the classroom, and the rest of it you got to go learn out in the real world. You got to learn by trying and falling on your face, and you got to learn by just trying. So I wanted those types of experiences, and I wanted to know what school was going to give me those opportunities and put me in positions to be in those opportunities the quickest. At Ball State, that was right away. I mean, I had opportunities straight up from my freshman year, and by the time that I was done with my freshman year, that's when the internships started, and that's when the real journey of like getting in and getting real practice and real world experience, that's when it really started. My first internship was at Wish, and despite wanting to be in sports, it was in news. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do yet, and that gave me an opportunity to really try it out. I'm so thankful that I did it that way, because if I would have done sports right off the bat, I would have been so close-minded and saying, I'm only gonna do sports. Like, that's all I can do. That's my craft, and I'm blocking out everything else that doesn't have to do with sports. But that first internship, trying news and just like giving it a shot, giving something new a shot, it was a great experience, and I found out something, like, it wasn't something I was super crazy about, but it was something that I figured I could do, and it gave me an opportunity, and it really opened my eyes that there was more to this world than just stats and scores. Like, there was real news that needed to be reported on, and I learned a lot from that internship. Shout out Jenny Dressler. She was the reporter I tagged along with a lot during that internship, and she taught me the sides of news that, like, the classroom, they don't show you. She kept it real, she kept it honest, and to this day, she's still a mentor and she's still a friend. So after graduation, leading up to graduation, right, I had it determined that I was gonna go into journalism. I wanted to go into the newsroom. I wanted to do sports, but it's not always easy getting into sports, especially when you're looking at markets. Let's say a market only has 4 stations, right? Well, out of those 4 stations, chances are they may only have 1 sports reporter, 2 sports reporters. So you're looking at 4 jobs total, 8 jobs, maybe 12 at the max, right? And out of how many of those jobs, how many are vacant? How many are looking for positions? So when you start looking at just wanting to get into sports, the pickings get kind of narrow. And that's why I was thankful I had that news internship background, because like it gave me the opportunity, if I needed to do news, I could. Funny story is, I was about 24 hours from signing a news contract when the call of a lifetime came, and it was a sports opportunity, and it was a chance to be a sports anchor, a sports reporter. That interview came up, and I drove down there in the middle of an Indiana winter storm. It was snowing like crazy. There was about 3 feet of snow out. I was determined to make it to that interview, and yeah, that one interview changed the course of everything. From that one interview, it went from moving from Evansville 2 hours south to be a news reporter to now heading up to Fort Wayne 2 hours north and starting the sports reporting journey. So that one interview, that one phone call, and that one travel up to Fort Wayne, I mean, completely changed the trajectory of everything after I graduated. Yeah, there's a lot to sports reporting that not a lot of people consider, right? They think there's a lot of glitz and glam that comes into it, and that your day starts and ends when you say hello on the camera and when you say good night on the camera, and that's just not true. Especially when you're doing local news, right? You're a one-man band, a one-woman band, but you're doing it mostly yourself, whether that's setting up the interview, going out, filming it, doing the interview, setting up the camera, getting the shots that you need to tell the story, coming back to the station, editing the entire story, writing the story, voicing the story, making sure it all looks good for air, going on air, presenting it, letting it run, coming back, closing it out, say goodnight, go off the show, then come back, write your web stories, do all your social media posts, do everything. I mean, that's a full day's worth of work. And then if you are anchoring, if it's one of the days that you're anchoring the entire show, I mean, like, you're doing that multiple times just in a smaller scale. Instead of building a 2-minute story, you're building like 6 30-second stories, and then you're going on, writing them, editing them, presenting them on TV, coming back, doing the web stories for them, posting them on social media. But there's a lot that goes into it that not a lot of people see. They think you got people for that, and you don't. You are the people. Drum roll, please. It's time for Sync It Sunday. First off, I want to start by saying thank you to everyone that sent in a video. There were a lot to go through. With that being said, if you don't see your video on here this week, don't get too sad on me. Sync It Sunday is not going anywhere anytime soon. So without further ado, let's get tricky. First up, we've got Brian. I feel like this trick will either end in celebration or grounding.
Beautiful.
Next up is my man Owen. Dude perfect, sign this kid. Crazy, right? Sync It Sunday is what it was called. Every Sunday I would have these kids. It didn't have to be kids. A lot of times the kids would participate, but it was really anybody in our TV market. They would send in a trick shot. I would see the best ones, and I would make something out of it, and I'd show it every Sunday on the news. That came out of desperation. That came at a time where sports were put on pause. That was right in the middle of the pandemic. I mean, no sports were going on, games weren't being played, news wasn't happening. As a sports reporter, what do? I mean, you gotta find some way to keep your job. I didn't really want to go into news. I didn't know how to tell the weather. Nobody wants to hear me tell the weather. That's the first and foremost. So you want to still do sports, but that's when you got to get creative, and you got to find sports when there is no sports being played. So that's what I came up with, and Sync It Sunday, it served its purpose, and it did a little bit more than that. It served its purpose by filling the time and giving us something to talk about, but it really brought a community together and gave people a chance to compete and keep in touch with each other and really still share that community vibe when we were supposed to be staying indoors. So I was really happy with it, and it was so much fun. When it came time to decide if I was going to stay in Fort Wayne or if I was going to try something else, that was a super tough decision because I was very comfortable where I was at. I was really starting to build a relationship with the community. And at the end of the day, I really enjoyed what I did. But, you know, I think always a part of me has been able to want to do things while I still have the chance to do them, right? Don't let an opportunity pass by because you don't know when you're going to get that opportunity again. And I think that opportunity came for me when I was offered a job in a destination site, which was Boca Raton, Florida, which is just north of Miami, Florida. So, I mean, it was beautiful weather year-round. I loved it. And it was also an opportunity to explore the other side of what I studied in college, right? My minor was in journalistic storytelling, but my major was in digital video production. And this was a job to be a videographer, to be a content creator. And it just seemed like an opportunity, like when am I gonna get that opportunity again? Be able to go to Florida, live in a great city, and be able to create content like that. I mean, there wasn't a day hardly ever that I was there that really felt like work. I mean, we were making TikTok videos, we were doing silly challenges, we were dealing with sports cards on a daily basis. I mean, it was so much fun, and I had a great time doing it. But, I mean, opportunities are great and all, and the jobs are what the jobs are, but like, what's more important than that? And to me, that was family, and family has always been super important to me. And it just got to a time where I really started to question like my values in life. Like I always preached that family was so important to me. My grandpa was super sick, and honestly, I just felt like I was not in a position where I could help at all, right? I was 1,600 miles away from my family, and I had been gone, and COVID had hit. I hadn't seen my grandparents then. I hadn't seen my family hardly then. Then I move away to Florida, and it's just like, I felt like all my life was just moving so fast when it came to family. And it just felt like, for all of my life, I had felt like I had infinite amount of time. And for the first time in my life, I felt like time was on an hourglass and that we didn't have all the time in the world. So it was just super important to me to make it back to Indianapolis. And I think that's been kind of like my drive throughout this whole journey, right? It's just been what do I want to accomplish? What do I want to get out of these dreams and this journey? And then, okay, how do I make that happen? And it's not just this big picture type of thing. It's like putting these small steps, a bunch of these small steps into place to achieve that bigger goal. And so like I had it in my head that like, okay, I need to be back with family right now because family is what's most important, and I need to get back to Indy. How am I going to do that? Well, I'm not going to leave option A until there's an option B. So I need to find a job. I need to find something that works. And so then you start going to the drawing board and finding out opportunities. And I just got blessed with an opportunity of a lifetime with something that I had never done before. That was PR. And I gave it a shot. And honestly, I couldn't be happier. I mean, it got me back here to Indianapolis where I was with my family when I needed it. And it's been a job that I really, really enjoy, right? I didn't take any PR classes at Ball State. And I really had no PR experience before this job, but the real world connections that I made through journalism and through this video production, that's been enough to really get me kickstarted in PR. And I'm having a lot of fun, and like I'm using those media connections that I made from previous experiences to kind of plug it into this job, and it's worked out so far. And I'm really enjoying it. Things happen for a reason. It's important to always have that dog inside of you, that dog mentality, and have that fire behind everything that you do, have that chip on your shoulder. I just said 3 cliche things, but it's true. I mean, you're always gonna have the doubters. You're always gonna have the people that believe in you but don't necessarily know exactly what it is that you do, but you know what you do. And the people that are closest to you, they eventually understand what you do. And like just always having your ears peeled and being a good listener and knowing who really is in your corner and who isn't. But when you don't feel like anybody is in your corner, what I would tell somebody to remember is that you put the cap on what you can do. Like if you feel like you're a rusty talker, go practice interviewing more. You know, turn on that camera, record yourself, get comfortable in front of the camera, talking in front of it, you know, when that red light's on. If writing's your struggle, write more. If video's the struggle, go shoot more. You know, like, I think it comes back to what we talked about in college, where college kind of gave me the opportunity to try things out, fall on my face, mess up, and go back to the drawing board and try again. Where it's like, you know what that road is going to look like. Know it's not going to be all glitz and glamour. Know there's going to be hard nights. Know there's going to be nights where, you know, you're doing fast food. Know it's going to be, you know, famine until it's feast when it comes to how much you're making. Like, know the dark sides of the TV world as much as you do the daylight of the TV world, and just know exactly what you're getting into before you do. And if you do, and if you're real with yourself, then there are no surprises and you like what you do. But if you're expecting this like magical world and you get in there, like you might be in for you know, a rude awakening. Besides being able to be a genie, right, and flip-flop orders, I think my journey has been special. I think it's been one of a kind, and it's really introduced me to a lot of new opportunities and a lot of new people that I don't think I would have got to do just on my own. That having a camera in my hand or being able to talk into a mic, that's what's opened those doors for me. It's my story, and it makes me really proud.